Okay, so understand, some of you might not know the magical power of a pulley, or maybe not this certain type of magical power a pulley possesses. So let me reveal something to you guys and maybe give you a little bit of a refresher. So let's say we have a little load right here, right? It's a little load, and we want to pull it up, right? Now, if we're up here and we're pulling, this is a 1-to-1. We're using all our force to pull up this load. Now, if we had that same load and we put it through, let's say, a pulley and back down to us, this is still a 1-to-1, okay? But now we have the advantage of our body weight pulling this load up, because we could jump up and use gravity to pull this up. So it's a lot easier than that. Now, if we have our rope attached here, and then it comes down to our load over here, and then back up, okay? Let's say we're right here like before. Well, now it's a 2-to-1. But we're pulling it up with we're breaking our poor little back. Ouchie. Ouchie. Hurts our back. So if we have that run down with another pulley down here, we still have a 2-to-1. So how can we figure this out so it's quick for our little simple minds like mine? Well, if the pulley is moving, so let's say the pulley's here, this load is going up, right? Like that. There'd be a pulley here. If we count the lines on the moving pulley, then we know what it is. So if we count the lines right here, we have put our guy back down over here, the smarter one. This guy's a smart guy. He's a damn genius. So he's down over here, and he's pulling on this line. We now have 1, 2. We have 2 lines. This third one is just a redirect. So we got a 2-to-1, okay? You can count like this. 1, 2-to-1, okay? 2-to-1. Now, you can do the same thing. You can do the same thing like this too. You have one line going down this way to our load like this. Okay, let's say our load's here, and then it's tied to our load, right? It goes up here, it goes down to our load, and then it comes back up here, and then we're gonna be smart and we're gonna put it over here. Okay, what's this? Okay, it's a 3-to-1. We have 1, 2, 3 to 1. So we could basically count these lines here that are moving, okay? And then we could say, okay, this is a 3-to-1, okay? Easy. We could quickly look at these systems and say, all right, that's 2 lines on the load, 2-to-1. 3 lines on the load, 3-to-1. On the pulley that's moving, okay? If we flip this upside down and we put the load here, what is it? Okay, let's say we put the load over here, okay? What is that? Well, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we redirected that back down, this would be 1, 2, 3. It would be a 4-to-1. So we take a 3-to-1, 4-to-1 pulley. Maybe if this is a block and tackle system, okay? We could just turn that system over. We could get more mechanical advantage, okay? Hope that makes sense, right? This is a pulley and that was a pulley. If we attach this pulley to the load, we'd have a 4-to-1. We flipped it over the other way, we'd have a 3-to-1, okay? Yeah, it could get pretty confusing. But basically what we're gonna do is use some magical powers. Let me not get this bleeding all over my table, okay? I wanna try to explain this so that nobody's really too confused. So, if we go back to our setup where we have our 2-to-1, okay, like this, or 2-to-1, and then we're pulling over here, and here's our load, right? Okay. To get this load all the way up here, we have to pull in this much rope, and we have to pull in this much rope. Gotta pull twice the amount of rope, but this rope's holding half the weight, and this rope's holding half the weight, okay? So over here, we're gonna have to just pull in half the weight, but twice the amount of rope. Now, what happens if we do this? Okay, let's say we have a line here and we attach a pulley and the line's here, and then it's getting redirected down here, and then our load is over here. I don't know why I put it all the way off to the right. It'd probably be straight down here. But anyway, what happens if we pull down on this? This load is going to fly up at twice the speed that this comes down. When you pull on this, you're going half the speed. If you pull on this, you're going twice the speed. Okay, so we could set this up on the hypertaker and have the hypertaker pull in twice the speed that it previously did, and also twice the length that it previously did, moving the same amount, but we're going to pull in twice the amount of rope at twice the speed. Let's see if we can set that up. Okay, so I'm not going to go super into detail of how the super taker is set up. That was the last episode in this series. I'll put it over here somewhere. You can check it out and then come back over here. But I'll probably talk about it enough that you can probably figure it out if you're rope inclined. So some of the differences I'm going to do to this one is I'm going to be using this 8 device instead of ATC. I feel like I'll get less complaints if I use that, because the ATC, if it gets a upward direction. When I set this up in live mode, when I eventually put this into like a real world test, I'm not anticipating a upward pull, because I'll probably have my anchor like maybe to the right or to the left of me up against a tree, maybe like 10 or 15 feet away from me or something like this. Right now these are kind of just the beta versions of what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm using an 8. Okay, now instead, what I had on here before was a crawl. What I'm putting is just a pulley. This is a Trax. Which Trax is this? This is a mini Trax, but I'm not using the rope grab part of it at all. I just can't find where I put my pulley. So I'm using this as a pulley. So it works. This is what's going to be pulling in the rope, okay? Then what I'm using is just a beaner with a clove hitch over here. And I'm just going to attach this clove hitch with the beaner just to my loop ring or some ring or something on my harness. This doesn't have to be weight bearing. So all this has to do, this side that's connected to my harness, that just needs to stay put so that this thing could pull. This device that I'm using isn't about taking the weight bearing or taking on the weight of the load or anything like that. All it's doing is it's giving me some kind of mechanical way to pull in the slack more than humanly possible. And my plan here is to double that speed and length by putting a 2-to-1. So right here we have the pulley, so we have a 2-to-1. We have one here, and our load is over here. So as soon as I release that, we should have this pulley pulling 2 lengths of rope up and pulling this one in. So we'll see where it goes. And then what I'll do is I'll measure off the floor how close our bag gets to the floor. And I'll probably try the old method and see, maybe that way was just faster because it has to deal with the slack in here. I'm trying to solve some issues by doing this setup, because some of the questions were like, well, how do you feed in slack if you have a crawl there in your way? Well, I'm thinking that if I have a clove hitch here, right, and I could just feed in slack here, tend this clove hitch, feed the slack, tend the clove hitch, feed the slack, and that way I can maintain something without ever taking my hand off the brake. I could just kind of tend this over here, feed out how much slack I want in the system with my clove hitch, tighten it back up real quick. Then I have more slack in the system. So I could add slack through here first, and then add it into my system, and then still have this pulley in the system. Okay. Now, obviously I wouldn't have to have one hand on the bag. I could keep one hand on the brake line, but now I still haven't figured out a way to release the bag with my foot or something. don't have enough hands, so we'll see if I could just drop the bag and then pull the thing, see what happens. Oh boy, that was close. So that is, at least it didn't hit the ground, 6 inches off the ground. So let's run that in slow-mo and see what it looked like. Okay, so now I did it with this 2-to-1. I'm gonna try to be as scientific as I can. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take where this clove hitch was, I'm gonna add a crawl to it like this, and take this clove hitch out and attach this crawl where that pulley is. That way, the crawl is gonna have to deal with the same amount of slack as the pulley just did, and I'm gonna measure how much of a difference it is. I'm gonna try to get the best comparison I can against this. We're gonna see how much slack this leaves in the system compared to the pulley. So let's set that up now. No, definitely not. We had a ground fall. So it pulled in almost all of it, but not enough. We hit the ground. So I guess that's conclusive. The pulley system, the 2-to-1, definitely pulls in more slack out of the system. Faster and, and more. So it looks like we could size this thing up. I could scale it up. Okay, before you start going down in the comments and writing, you're a super genius, I prefer the term mad scientist. But I guess I'm ready to scale it up. Maybe I'll put some slack in a tree and take the whip, and maybe I'll have my wife belay me and pull the trigger or something and see what happens, right? I guess that'll be the next step in this series. Hit that like and subscribe if you're excited for that one. I'm not. Well, at the very least, I hope you found this one entertaining and learned a thing or two about pulleys and how they work. And if you have any questions, let me know. Check out our Discord. We're almost at we're getting close to 500. So that's a big milestone for Discords, I think. Which, if you don't know what Discord is, basically a better way to forum. I think it's the future of foruming. I don't know. So anyway, that's Josh Perry signing off. Check out all the things in the description, how to contact me, stuff like that. Hit the subscribe button, bells or whatever. Josh Perry, climb it out of here.